Time now for Africa News. The headlines. Signs the situation is stabilising. Liberian President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf on the Ebola outbreak that's gripping her country. It's the first case is identified in the US. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization is saying no vaccine will be widely available until well into next year. In the DRC, more than 100 former fighters from the country's volatile east are reported to have died of starvation in a camp in the remote north. Also in this edition, we'll be heading to Uganda for a report on those who've escaped the clutches of Central Africa's most notorious armed group, the Lord's Resistance Army. Welcome. The chief of the UN mission in Liberia says the international community is not doing enough to tackle the Ebola outbreak in the country. Corinne Landgren's comments coming as the first case of the deadly virus was diagnosed in the United States, identified in a man who travelled from Liberia. Over 3,000 people have been infected there, with nearly 2,000 deaths. France 24's Mark Perelman has been talking via Skype to Liberian President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Here's her reaction to the US case and to warnings her country is on the verge of collapse amid alarming predictions over the spread of the virus there.
I doubt if you see any spread in the United States because they have the means to control it, and they have said that. And I hope that other countries will realize that there was no risk to people. If we look at the situation reports that are coming from different areas, we now realize that we're beginning to see stabilization in a few of our political subdivisions. Even in Monrovia, which has been hardest hit because 1/3 of our population reside in this capital city. Even here, we begin to see a slowdown in the number of people that are reporting to the treatment centers.
Meanwhile, the new head of the UN Ebola response team has vowed swift action on the crisis. Speaking in Accra in Ghana, Anthony Banbury said he was setting the ambitious target of 60 days to bring the situation under control. The international mobilisation includes a planned 3,000-strong US military contingent in Liberia, with Britain due to set up a medical centre in Sierra Leone. More than 3,300 people have now died in the epidemic. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization has said that even under the best conditions, a significant number of vaccine doses will not be available until the end of the first quarter of 2015.
To prevent
The Democratic Republic of Congo next, where more than 100 demobilised fighters are reported to have died of starvation and illness in a camp in the country's remote north. NGO Human Rights Watch says they were from the various armed groups operating in the east of the country. They surrendered last year. We spoke via Skype to Philippe Balopion from Human Rights Watch.
The situation in this remote camp was particularly shocking. For months, people have been left to die there. When our researchers went on the ground, they documented the death of more than 100 people. Most of them were kids who died because either they were starved to death or for lack of medical care. And it's completely unacceptable, of course, in the 21st century that people who were under the responsibility of the Congolese government were left to die in such a horrible way. We've talked to the government about it. They've made excuses saying that they didn't starve these people on purpose, that they couldn't find ways to get the food to them, that the area was too remote. But these are only excuses, and the negligence is nothing short of criminal. So we think that as a first step, the government needs to immediately remove these people from this camp where they have been dying. They need to get them to a place where they can be taken care of. And they need probably to get also the UN involved in the process because it's at this point, it's a protection of civilians issue. And if they don't do that, armed groups from the eastern part of the country will get the message that, if they surrender their weapons, an even more terrible fate awaits them. So it's very important that the government gets it right.
To Uganda next, and a report on one of the region's most notorious armed groups. For nearly 3 decades, the Lord's Resistance Army has been wreaking havoc across Central Africa. Founded by self-declared mystic Joseph Kony, the rebels became synonymous with the mutilation of civilians and the kidnapping of thousands of children forced to become fighters or sex slaves. Some of them managed to flee the LRA's clutches, others are rescued during military operations, and occasionally some are released. Our team sent this from Gulu in northern Uganda.
It's off to hospital for this team from the rehab centre with a young mother and her sick baby. They arrived here the previous day from Congo after being released by the LRA. These are their first hours of freedom.
Here I feel free. It's very different from the bush. In the bush it's very difficult to find food and clothes to dress in. But here we have everything we need. The bush is very difficult and we live in fear.
The NGO workers quickly interrupt in order to spare the young woman who is still adapting to the radical change in her surroundings.
She's one of our new, currently formal abducted persons. We haven't actually received her. She's still in the hands of the UPDF that rescued her. Asking lots of questions may really bring that withdrawal syndrome, so it's better they build confidence with the new environment.
For the young mother and her child, the long road to reintegration has only just begun. Since 1995, this centre has helped ex-LRA abductees. Many were children when they started fighting, some even born in captivity. They stay here for between 3 months and a year, then return to their families.
These children go through a lot of mental retardations in their mind because of the atrocities that they've committed. Some of them have actually killed. Some of them have committed the destructions in the same communities where they come from.
Thabo fled the LRA 2 years ago. After rehabilitation, he joined his sister in running this shop, an example of successful reintegration.
I'm very proud of it. There's a big change, a great change. His business is now growing up. It can help him better than the way we can give him support.
I'm feeling a new life. I'm not thinking about those rebels.
You don't want to think?
I don't want to think.
But while Thabo and other escapees are learning to enjoy normal life again, an estimated 10,000 children abducted by the LRA are still missing.
Finally, we profile musical sensation Davido, the American-born Nigerian recording artist, performer and record producer, has been wowing ever-expanding numbers of fans around the world, including here in the French capital. This from France 24's Nicolas Jamin and Bengali Touré.
This song, Skelewu, by Nigerian singer Davido, is a hit in clubs across Africa and far beyond. In Paris, for example, where we went to find out more about the Davido mania during his world tour.
I like Davido. His music. It's an honour for us that he's come here. It's great.
There's a vast majority of girls in the queue.
He's handsome, he's got style, he sings well. He's got everything a woman dreams of.
Before the concert, we meet Davido, who was born in 1992 in a rich Nigerian family. He never stops travelling.
I just came from New York. I just did London. I did Berlin. I did Glasgow. And now I'm going to South Africa. Yeah. Money moves.
Davido then changes into his party gear. The show is about to begin. Then comes the song all are waiting for, Skelewu. The concert ends after less than an hour. Many fans would have liked it to last longer.
We liked it, but it was a bit short.
It was short but intense. I loved it.
Thank you, Davido!
Thank you!
Thank you!
I love you! I love you!
Davido has just received the highest number of nominations at the All Africa Music Awards, which will be given out next month. At just 21, he's set to stay in the limelight for the next few years.
That's it for this edition. Thanks for joining us. And do stay with us here on Live from Paris. Melissa Bell will be back with the news very shortly.